All right, guys. Ninjembro?
Are we good to
We're
go?
taking it away?
Yeah, it looks like we're live.
All right.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm ninjembro, and I will be writing Links to the Past Randomizer. I am joined today by an awesome co-commentator, Danny Music.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I'm Danny Music. I will be commentating this race and also trying to track the items. I've never done both of these tasks at the same time, though I have done both individually. So if I mistrack something or don't mark something, chat, feel free to yell at me and tell me to do that.
And just thank you, everybody who donated for the awesome incentive for this run, because I had a bunch of seeds ready to go, some with the vanilla music, and when I asked Danny to be my commentator for this run, he said, hey, would you be willing to use the A Link to the Brass MSU, because we can inject custom music into the randomizer, which is really cool, and that's what you're hearing now. So a quick plug.
Yeah.
This is an entire, I guess we can call it a conversion or a cover of all the music in A Link to the Past, but done by a brass ensemble known as The Game Brass, which Danny Music is a part of, and they will actually be playing tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the concert
Yeah,
stage,
that's right.
correct? So for those of you here in person, go check them out tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I plan on being there, and hope you all are too. So the mode that we're doing today is all Dungeons Keysanity, which means that we normally in a randomizer in Link to the Past, you have to beat these 7 crystal dungeons, climb Ganon's tower, and then fight Ganon. That won't be sufficient today. We need to get all 7 crystals, all 3 pendants. We need to climb Ganon's tower, and we need to beat Aghanim 1, which sometimes you do after Aghanim 2, so it can be a little weird like that. Yeah, so we get to do all the dungeons, and all the keys are also shuffled into the item pool, so they are not necessarily in their vanilla dungeons. So it's going to be pretty fun. And the last thing is, you know, some runners like to do like a little personal pledge. So I'm going to need the audience or chat to kind of help me keep track of some things. Because I am pledging a $25 base donation at the end of the run, but plus $5 for every dungeon that I have to dip into more than once. And that includes, like, for example, Palace of Darkness. If I have to go in there 4 times, that counts as 3 additional dips, so that would be $15 additional dollars. The only exceptions are things like Desert Palace and like Turtle Rock, where you technically leave the dungeon and then immediately go back in another entrance. Sorry, that doesn't count as a double dip. And Hyrule Castle is completely off the table because I consider it part of the overworld.
Sure.
But I think we are ready to get going, as long as everybody else is ready to go.
All right.
I'm
You
ready to
excited?
go, and we've had some more donations too, so I'll get this off quickly. Maniacal, $25. One thing I can always depend on is Ninjembro finding all the keys so I don't have to. Thanks for the care and good luck with the run. So last summer, $50. Good luck, Ninjembro. Let's get that full beef. I say let's see if we can find that water palace key right
Ooh,
on the
Swamp Palace.
pedestal.
All right. Oh, a pedestal swamp. Okay. All right. So I guess I will count us down.
Wait,
just for,
let's let chat count us down.
All right.
All right, audience at home.
Audience, are you ready to count us
from
down?
5. Count from 5. Ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
All right, so we'll see if it's a pedestal seed. All right, so we explained. You've all seen the general concept of a randomizer, but everything has been shuffled into the overworld. Not just the small keys, not just the dungeon items, but also the maps and compasses. Right now, Ninjembro is checking the tree pool. After you kill a certain amount of enemies, then certain trees and other locations in the overworld will spawn pickups that you can collect. In this case, the pickup was full magic, which he can actually put to use right away with that Cane of Samaria find. The thing that
you
we're
track the Cane of
mostly
Samaria
looking
for
for, yes, I will check the Cane of Samaria, because that is also a thing that I am doing. The main thing that Ninjembro is looking for
I
in
could've
the
gone to the Hyrule
early
Castle there.
game
Oh, well.
is bombs. The main reason we're looking for bombs is in order to clear all of the checks that we want to in Kakariko after we pick up that lamp. There are some that are behind cracked walls that can only be opened with bombs, so We'd like to find bombs first. Also, money would be fine too, because we can use money to buy bombs.
Yeah, I already made a huge mistake because I got that red cane, but I was just on autopilot, and I could have gone into Hyrule Castle there and done the front checks of that and just, like, didn't. So, you know, cool. You're already getting top-tier gameplay here, guys.
You'll come back later with, like, boots and butter sword, and it'll be
Sure.
fine.
We don't need that map.
Nah, we're doing all the dungeons anyway.
Let's actually see what the bush crab has, just for fun. That is terrible.
Yeah. So, if you play a regular randomizer that is not Keysanity, the maps are pretty much useless. You can see a map to the dungeon, but chances are you know what the dungeon layout looks like anyway. In a Keysanity, maps are a bit more useful because they will reveal the prize of a dungeon that you have not completed yet. So, in the cases where you're only interested in collecting crystals and not pendants, that can sometimes be very useful information. In this case, since it's all dungeons, we're going to be doing all the dungeons anyway, so we're not going out of our way to pick up maps.
Also, imagine checking the lumberjack. Which I don't really know how I want to route this here because we have 41 rupees. This is actually kind of terrible. So we're just going to go into blind set, hope we find bombs, and if we don't, question mark?
Alright, first check. Small key to Dark Palace, which I am marking.
Hey, blue mail.
Blue mail, which I am also marking. Heart piece, which I am not marking. And a small key to Dark Palace, which I am also marking. But unfortunately, none of those items were bombs.
So there's a chest behind that wall there that we might just not get to for a very, very long time.
That does not count as a double
It
dip.
is not a dungeon.
The dark world is where the dungeon that blind has is.
All right, what do we get here? Small key to Turtle Rock. Small key to Pod. Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Small key to Skull Woods.
Oh man.
All right, so once again, what is going on with money this seed? This is atrocious.
A bit unlucky.
So we can't even talk to this guy. We can't do this. So here's what we're going to do. So I told myself I was going to route this as if I were racing this. And not just like showcasing this. So I'm pretending I'm racing against, let's say, just because I saw them in chat earlier and I like to troll them a little bit. So we're racing against Gamachu right now. So hi Gamachu.
Gamachu found the filet already. That's the bug net.
Yeah. Gamachu only goes where the items are, so.
Oh, hey look, there's our early game bombs.
Locked behind bombs, right? Cool game. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go back into the well to get that extra chest. Doesn't count as a double dip, sorry. And now that we have 10 bombs, let's take a look over there. What do we got happening? I think we'll go to South Shore, right? South Shore seems like a good play.
Yeah.
Let's get that. We can grab some more money here. So the problem here is we don't have Bottle Vendor done. What are the chances that Bottle Vendor actually has something, right? Since we're skipping it, the odds are probably about 100% that Bottle Vendor has something important.
Yeah.
We can just come back to that later, though.
Yep. The NPC that's sitting in the middle of Kakariko Village has an item for sale. We don't know what it is, but it costs 100 rupees. We have to spend the 100 rupees before getting to know what it is. So chances are it's going to be spend 100 rupees to get a rupee. But that, however, is a very important item called the Moon Pearl. The Moon Pearl lets us retain our true Link identity in the Dark World. Otherwise, we would be a bunny who is not capable of doing much at all.
All right, so we're going over here to the dam, right? There's a lot of runners out there that like to do dam and then go all the way over to Agina's cave because it's Keysanity. They like being very thorough. Not us. We like to live life on the edge. Wow, still last summer. Okay. I see you in chat.
That is true. We did not see race game or the library, which is another thing that runners commonly do early, but we can live life dangerously.
Yeah, well, because we had to go all the way back into whatever that place was called. Well, let's grab 20 rupees.
Yeah, gotta make some cuts somewhere.
Ooh. Well, we have blue mail. That wouldn't have been that dangerous. All right, mini Moldorm Cave. Get over here, bruh. Wow, they are being awfully rude right now.
Yeah. Mini Moldorm Cave is another check that people tend to want to do pretty early because it has
Really,
5
dude?
items.
Really? Okay, thank you.
And they go down. Chances are you don't have a good weapon to be able to deal with the mini Moldorms by the time you enter the
a
cave.
sword.
But hey, here's a good weapon. There's another good weapon.
So we got what? A Misery Mire, small, a sword, and the hook shot. Mm-hmm. Let's see what our stun prize is. Small magic.
So the stun prize, if you stun an enemy before killing it, then it will always drop the same item and also always drop that item. In this case, the stun prize is small magic, which can be useful in dungeons if we are low on magic and have to deal with an upcoming boss or other enemy that we would like to use a high magic item to do, then that can help us get there.
And the other nice thing with hookshot is without the boots, hookshot is like actually a very fun like navigation item to just kind of like get around the world. Oh.
Ooh. We have chosen the archer class.
Yeah, we got the bow. All right, so earlier when we just forgot that we could go into Hyrule Castle with the red cane and a full magic bar, we're actually going to go into Hyrule Castle now. So a lot of runners have different rounding philosophies. That bow allows us to beat Eastern Palace if we find the Eastern Palace big key. So we're just hoping, it's not very likely because the keys can be like basically anywhere, but we're going to hope that the Eastern Palace big key is just here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the key logic as we start getting into the dungeon areas, but for most dungeons, most big keys are absolutely required and only for the back of those dungeons in order to beat the bosses. So for that reason, sometimes the big keys will show up early, and that's a good indicator to maybe the game wants you to do that dungeon. But in other cases, the big key to Eastern Palace, despite Eastern Palace being the first dungeon in the game, that might very well be the last item that we need to collect.
Keysanity is fun like that. So enjoy that wonderful brass Link to the Past music. So fun fact, that chest, which was completely useless, and this next one, as Danny had mentioned, we'll talk about key logic in a little bit, and what that means is like there are certain items in this game that unless you already have certain amounts or certain keys, are technically not logically accessible because the game assumes, in terms of being able to build the logic, that you will spend your small keys in the most dumb way possible. And because, oh nice, blue cane. Because there's a small key that we got from a guard that we could then just like leave and go spend it elsewhere, there is one Hyrule Castle small key that comes from a chest. Those last 2 chests that we checked are actually locked behind that small key. It could be anywhere. We don't know where it is. That blue cane is not particularly important.
Hopefully
it's nice.
not anyway.
It's nice. It's nice to have, but it's not usually relevant.
So Ninjembro right here is doing a dark room. If he did not have the lamp, then this light cone would not be around him. One of the things that separate a lot of the higher skilled runners is the ability to do these rooms in the dark. You can hold your sword out to act as a kind of flashlight, but sometimes you don't even have a sword, so just being able to muscle memory through these rooms is a skill. And there's a big key to Ice Palace.
It's not the big key we wanted to see.
Yeah. Unfortunately, even though the Eastern big key is necessary for the dungeon, that is not the case for all the big keys. The big key for Ice Palace is something that is required by logic, but in terms of practicality, we will only need that big key if there happens to be something important in the big chest of Ice Palace. It's not like Eastern Palace where you need the big key to beat the dungeon.
Which, for the record, unless we find the Eastern Palace big key in the very near future, we are now setting ourselves up for Eastern Palace being a double dip. So there's another potential $5 to Child's Play.
Eastern Palace big key could be on the bottle vendor, and that would be amazing.
It will be. Small key to... Wow, that's a lot of
4.
small keys already.
So, with Palace of Darkness, there are 6 small keys that are in the pool. Logic would expect you to have obtained all of them before the boss, the vanilla big key chest, and the harmless Heckway chest are available. 4 is also a pretty magic number for Palace of Darkness small keys because that gives us logical access to the back. With the lamp, we have access to even more items in the back of Palace of Darkness, and the back is where most of the items tend to be.
And 4 is also a very good magic number for Pod, so to speak, because if you're playing out of logic, which we probably will end up doing a lot in this seed, unless it decides to be very, quote, nice. 4 is the minimum number of small keys that you can get, and get all of the chests out of Palace of Darkness, even though it's not logical to do so. However, with 4, it takes a lot of time to do so. With 5, you can get everything and not waste a lot of time. So we're hoping to find a 5th small key. Hey, our 4th heart.
Yeah, and also, in general, if you aren't sure what we mean by in logic and out of logic, the game randomizes the items in such a way that it expects the game to be completable without using any glitches and with the ability to use your keys in as inefficient of a way as possible. So anything that... There are certain glitches that are allowed by the randomizer, and I will try to mention them as they come up, but also being able to check a couple of dungeons by using keys in a more efficient manner, that is also considered out of logic.
So, like, really fun fact, like, looking at the tracker right now, if we don't find anything in this next chest, we're probably, like, looking at going back to Kakariko for those things that we, like, you know, decide to tactically skip and probably have something important. You know, I believe it was Maximum Bartage in chat that said, you know, in before Eastern Palace big key on bottle vendor. It's very possible.
The nice thing about having the lamp is that this chest is in logic in Eastern Palace, because there were some dark rooms that Ninjembro had to go there. Unfortunately, it is a compass, so our options are looking a bit slim right now in this early game.
Yeah, we don't have a lot available to us right now, and there's a good possibility we get to see a little Easter egg in the very near future. Yeah, chalk up 1 double dip. All right, bottle vendor, what you got for us? Be prepared. Everybody might be able to laugh at me if something super important's right here, right? Just 10 arrows. Chat loses again.
10 rupees per arrow.
Yeah, it's not a very good value.
I really wanted that to be the Eastern Palace big key.
I honestly did too. It would have been great. All right, just a piece of heart there. We're never going to come back for that. So, sorry, so last summer, from your donation note earlier, we are not going to get full beef. We might get half beef. All right, after this, looks like we have a Gina.
Yep.
And then, like, the Zora area, which requires a lot of rupees. And that's not even in logic. Okay, so Agina is our logical progression. Unless I'm missing something. Like
I think we got everything. All right, what do you think is going to be on Agina?
All right, so what are our options? We have
Glove,
Eastern Palace Big Key. We have
Eastern
Glove.
Palace Big Key.
We have Flute. We have ooh, I did not mean to use a bomb there. We could get the book. We could get the Hyrule Castle Small Key.
Could get Mushroom, could get Shovel.
Mushroom, Shovel. That might be about it. A bottle.
We could get Magic Cape.
Or Master Sword.
Or Master Sword, yeah. Chat would want that because that'll probably make us have to double dip Aga Tower.
Yeah, and Aga Tower is in the cards for double or triple dipping.
And our lucky item is a glove.
So we are going straight to the back of Escape here.
All right.
But that also gives us mountain access, which is a lot of items for us right now. But we really like to check things like back of Escape before going up the mountain on the slight off chance that we find something like the hammer, which will make us able to do a lot more on the mountain. Or the Titan Mitts. So let's see what we find.
Yep. Usually at the beginning of the game, the first thing that we are looking for is Dark World access, and the Moon Pearl and a glove are two items that you're pretty much always going to want to find. Hey, the Pegasus boots is nice.
So we get the boots, we get the half magic. We like these things.
Yep. Boots, they actually open a few extra things in Randomizer, but mostly they let us go fast, which is super nice. But as I was saying earlier, we are looking for Dark World access, which often comes in the form of Moon Pearl Glove and Hammer, also alternatively Moon Pearl First Glove Upgrade and Second Glove Upgrade. If we don't have either of those two preferable cases, then we would have to beat Aghanim's Tower, but that is less likely in this mode because Aghanim's Tower is also locked behind two Castle Tower keys.
Which is like the absolute, like, of all the things, like 80 keys, which we are doing, is a very, very good mode. The two Aga Tower keys are the worst feature of this mode. That is a...
Oh, that is a hammer.
Are you serious?
All right, well, hopefully we'll find those two Aghanim's Tower keys before too long.
Well, we will, yes, we will, like...
Otherwise,
we need to find them soon.
All right, so chat, if you want Ninjembro to dive into every dungeon, then Hammer on Lumberjack Ledge is a good way to try to ensure that possibility. So being able to get that item that he just scouted requires you to beat Aghanim's Tower for those Lumberjacks to move away from that tree so you can bonk into it to get the drop down for it. Since the hammer is there, that means we are going to find, we're going to need to find both Castle Tower keys as well as either another sword or the cape before we can get that.
It does mean that those two keys will be not a complete, like, pain in the butt to find.
Well, hopefully, if we find Titan's Miss, then they could.
Yeah. Oops. Hello? I thought I said spin speed there accidentally, but all right. So nothing on the spectacle rock there, and nothing inside the cave.
All right, so if you have the hook shot or the combination of mirror plus hammer, then you can access the right side of Death Mountain, which has Paradox Cave, which is another high-density item location area with 7 items, as well as Spiral Cave for an additional 1, and we can scout the item on the floating island, which, if it's important, then we can go and get it later. Another one of the items that Ninjembro had picked up earlier was the flippers, and there are a few extra things that we can get using that, one of which is Zora, who technically requires glove or flippers, and will need 500 rupees in order to get that.
Sorry, I'm just reading chat, and they're like, how does Ninjembro only have, 110 rupees? I went splurging for arrows, apparently.
Ooh, the best boomerang.
Oh,
and
there
there's
we
that
go.
Titan's mitt. All right.
All right, let's see if we can actually get this bomb jump. We're scrubs and sometimes fail this.
Oh.
Boo!
All right. That is not an essential bomb jump to get.
And I'm not going for it again. Oh no, Gamma choose eyes.
Is this a good time to plug some incentives?
Yeah, of course.
Incentives, and also at any point in time, just interrupt
Okay.
if you have donations.
Okay, don't think we've had any donations for a while. I will double check that. But first, let me mention some incentives we have coming up. And by the way, these incentives are very fast deadlines here. For $100, after this, we can get a link to the past any % bonus run. It's $100. That's not a lot. Also, for an upcoming Castlevania run, $100 for all the bosses. Not sure if that's Castlevania in general, because I think you have to beat all the bosses in that one. Maybe they meant Symphony.
Is that
I'm
for
not
the
sure.
Symphony of the Night run?
Yeah, it should be Symphony of the
Yeah,
Night, probably.
normally I don't think all the bosses are not
Because
required
in
in that
Castlevania,
game.
you have to beat all 6 of them, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, it's for Symphony of the Night bonus run. Is that the same for the difficulty 11 as well for Soten? Okay.
Also,
Not sure how that one works, but
for that any % run, and not to steal the thunder there, I don't know what was confirmed or not, so the admins can yell at me if this is not the case, but I believe they were trying to find out because the any % run was going to be by a runner who had a run earlier today. Are we going to do the blind? Okay, so part of that incentive will be I have never done an any % run. It is a glitched run. And that we are going to have him actually coach me through doing it. So I will potentially be the one doing that run, having never done it before. And I'm going to be coached verbally through it.
This sounds like excellent content.
So there was a small key on the floating island. I don't know if we caught
Yep,
that.
I got that.
Okay, and we have Quake for Turtle Rock.
if you want that any % bonus run and to see all those bosses in Symphony of the Night Randomizer later on, make sure to get your money in for that. And all that money does go directly to Child's Play, which is an organization that provides consoles and other entertainment to
flutes.
children's hospitals around the world. Our current donation goal is $10,000. We hit $5,000 already,
Why
which
did I
was
do
the
that?
original one. And for those of you here in-house, you can donate via the QR code in the corner over to by the doors over there. And for those who are online, you can just hit type in exclamation donate in chat, and that will give you the link you need.
All right, so with the combination of Titan's Mitts and Moon Pearl, we actually do have Dark World access right now. Titan's Mitts are the second glove upgrade. Ninjembro entered the Dark World a bit earlier. We got items from the right side of Dark Death Mountain, one of which was the flute. The flute is a link to the past fast travel option. Lets us go to 8 different locations in the Light World. One of which is the Misery Mire area that can only be accessed with the combination of Flute plus Titan's Mitts. And that is immediately where Ninjembro is going to go.
Also, another thing to note for the Castlevania run for Symphony of the Night, the runner, St. Von Jester, has just mentioned that there will be donations per death in that run by way of the commentators, so the harder it is, the better. So if you want some death to go with your Symphony of the Night, donate with that. And we do have a couple donations now, too. Old Man Sunshine with $20, 2 hours for all dungeon keys. Very optimistic.
Oh, challenge accepted.
And still the Chief with $100. Well, obviously we have to keep ninjembro on the stage as long as possible. Yes. Let's see the blind run, Lauren.
Excellent.
Another $100.
Excellent. Thank you.
That is awesome.
That's
thank you
super
so
cool.
much. And Old Man Sunshine, thank you so much. Awesome member of the community. Oh my god. Was that you, Matt? Bonk. We have a Skullwoods key, right? Okay,
We do have a
good.
Skullwoods key.
So, guess what? We are probably double dipping Skullwoods. So, there's more money for Child's Play.
Skullwoods is a dungeon, has 3 entrances, but you can get the front items relatively quickly, so some people actually call them the Skullwoods overworld checks for that reason. We don't have the fire rod, so we can't beat the dungeon in the back, but we can at least get some of the items and see if Skullwoods has the goods.
Hello? And again, this is one of those things where, like, because there's multiple entrances, this particular visit does count as one dip, even though we're going in multiple doors.
We have hit the incentive for that bonus run, so we get more Link to the Past after this. And I forgot to mention,
Why am I going
there is
over
also a poll for the file name for Symphony of the Night coming up. We have currently at the top Pile of Secrets with $20. Also with some suggestions of St. Von Jester, King Donut, which is a very MAGFest thing, and I believe what is the luck code/name for the game, which would be difficult. Which would probably have to do with the difficulty.
Please do King Donut. MAGFest may or may not be a donut. We don't know.
It's very unclear.
You have $10 from Elf Queen 86. All bosses, the longer the run, the better. Death to Gene. That's for going to Symphony of the Night, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, a bottle. Hold on. Where is that bottle? It was a B?
It was a B.
We don't want that B. Bs are useless. Sorry.
See you later.
And we get the Swamp Key to Swamp. That's what we like.
Wow.
I'm going to take a Death Warp here just because we got a little low health.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier about how the small keys in different dungeons have different values. The Swamp Palace small key that we just found is one of the most valuable ones. Every chest in Swamp Palace, other than the very first one, 9 chests total, are locked behind that Swamp Palace small key. So sometimes it can be a big pain in the rear end to find. In this case, Skullwoods definitely came through with the goods.
Just 20 bucks. We are literally never going back for that.
Yep, that item you would use the magic cape to get, but since we don't have the magic cape and don't want that 20 rupees anyway, we're not.
Speaking of double dips, we will likely be double dipping Thieves Town because we're almost there. And we don't have the Thieves Town big key. Another pod
Wow,
small.
that's number 5.
But we don't have that hammer yet.
Yeah. Well, if Castle Tower small keys are in Palace of Darkness, then we know it's a required double dip. Alright, so this is Thieves Town. There are 4 chests in the front that we can get without the big key, which we don't have right now. If we did have the big key, then we still wouldn't be able to full clear this dungeon. There is 1 additional chest that requires both the hammer and the small key, but we would potentially be able to beat the dungeon without getting that chest.
We do have 5 pod smalls, which is incredible. Oh.
Alright, nothing
This
super
is very
significant in the
unfortunate.
front of
This
these.
is going to be a very slow death warp, but I still think it's faster than running back out of the dungeon.
Yeah.
So this guy needs 30 of our rupees.
Hey.
Hey!
All right, that's the Master Sword. So the way chess game works is that chess game counts as one random item, which is always the item that you get in the second chest, but you also happen to get a nice item in the first chest. In this case, it was 50 rupees, so we kind of made a profit from chess game. The first one is not predetermined. But yeah, we found the Master Sword in a chest. Master Sword is, at this point, nice to be able to deal additional damage. It also unlocks the first chest of Castle Tower, but we don't necessarily want to go there without any Castle Tower keys at all.
Yeah, we're not going back there anytime soon.
So digging game is also predetermined. There is a random number of digs that this will require between 1 and 30 before you get the prize. You know when you get the prize by the traditional Zelda chime. I wasn't counting the number of digs. Looks like...
I think 20, 21, 22... 27.
Yeah, that's definitely on the higher end. And once again, maps are somewhat useful in this, but we're not really going to worry about collecting maps because we're doing all the dungeons anyway.
We want to get our friend here.
Yeah, so we're going to be followed by a frog for a little while. We're going to take him on the Froggy World Tour, you could say. What you do with him is you deliver him to his house in the Light World, where he turns into a blacksmith. The blacksmith would make an item that in the vanilla game would be a sword. In this case, it will be a random item. If you have the mirror, it is...
Oh, gosh.
Typically faster to be able to deliver the frog because you can take him to his house right there, use the mirror to get from the dark world to the light world, and return him back. But since we do not have the mirror, it's helpful to grab him now, so that way when we get to the light world eventually, then we'll be able to deliver him to his home and get whatever item he has. Alright, they call this cave Hype Cave because it has 5 items. We'll be the judge if it is in fact hype. Alright, I don't think the Tower of Hera small key and the red mail are enough to constitute a hype cave, but the Tower of Hera small key does unlock one item which we can't even get right now without a mirror or hammer. So as you can see, we're in the light world now. He is a dwarf, I guess you would say. I'm not sure what you call him. A friend. A gnome! We're going to take him home and see what item he has.
Yeah, I seen in chat some people were giving it a rating. I would have personally given it like a 2 out of 10. Like, red mail is nice. A Hera small key is nice. But
Yeah.
2 out of 10. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so this next check that we are about to do, I am going to dedicate to Gamachu.
I hope this is where the items are.
I am dedicating this next check to Gamachu, who I believe is still in chat. It is
Gamma's already going my eyes.
both him and I's favorite check in the entire game, Catfish.
Oh, alas. Catfish is one of the most loathed checks by Link to the Past randomizer runners, just because it tends to be so far out of the way in the northeast corner of the light world, far away from anything.
Slow to get to. Always skip Catfish, but in this instance, it actually routes nicely because we can go straight from Catfish down to the pyramid and then straight over to Palace of Darkness. Definitely forcing a Palace of Darkness double dip because we would need the hammer to actually clear Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, with so many Palace of Darkness small keys so early, that's tends to be attributed as a signal from the game to you that, hey, maybe something important is in Palace of Darkness. But let's see if Catfish is important. Nope.
Bye.
And we have a $200 donation from Cat Ears Karain that says, meow. Insert evil cat laughter.
Thank you so much for the $200.
That was excellent.
That is awesome. All right, so we're gonna go check the pyramid here because it's on our way to pod. Hello, dude? Really? Just gonna snipe me like that?
Also, you notice ninjembro going extra fast here. That is a trick called spin speed. It's super easy to set up with the hook shot, also possible to do with a spin attack from which it gets its name. The way you do it is hit the item and dash button on the same frame while you are going up a slope or a staircase, and that will cause the game to interpret the running speed as your walking speed. So you get to walk a bit extra quickly in that particular screen.
I'm being told.
Oh, there is half magic on the tracker. Hooray!
Which,
Thank you.
also, it's very funny because we have the broadcast view up, but on non-Keysanity version of the tracker, half magic does not show up on there. So if this was not a Keysanity mode, they wouldn't have known.
But what has shown up is $30 from Maximum Barnage saying, here's $10 per legal loss this year so I can actually say I helped you out for once. Triple dip those dungeons for charity, but fast.
Thank you so much, Barnage. For those who are unaware, there is a competitive Link to the Past Randomizer League that happens every year. I'm on a team with two people who have been in chat, Maximum Barnage and Maniacal42. And yeah, we had a very good run this year. Unfortunately, got eliminated in the playoffs in the first round. But it's just a very fun time. It's especially fun when you're able to do the league with people that you are friends with IRL. Ganon's Tower. So yeah, thanks so much for that donation, Barnage. It's much appreciated.
My teammates are here too. I saw Dapper Wormman in chat. Yeah, so this is Palace of Darkness. It has 14 checks. That is quite a high number. We are going to be able to get all of them except for the boss and the big key chest.
And there's the last pod
All right, so I'm going to amend that statement to say we can get all of them except for the boss and the big key chest in logic, because we now actually have all 6 Palace of Darkness small keys.
Okay, we got through there.
Nice.
We don't have the mirror, we don't have the hammer. I did not think this through.
Yeah, we do have the red mail. This is why I hate the red mail, because it makes taking a death warp so much of a pain. Hey, there's a castle tower key. All right.
All right, so get ready for a little bit of a cutscene here, guys, because we have to go back down these stairs, and we have to, like, get hit by the spike 7 times. Hello?
Yeah. So there are 2 castle tower small keys in the game. Both of them are very important because they are going to lead to the hammer, also going to lead to beating Aghanim, which is required by the parameters of all dungeons. Because a castle tower key was found in Palace of Darkness, and Palace of Darkness needs the hammer to be completed, this was a logical double dip required for Palace of Darkness.
So the game knew to force me to donate more money to charity.
Yep.
So we're what? We're already double dipping Eastern, Skullwoods, Thievestown, and Pod so far.
So far. There's still more possibility to double dip more. Yeah, might as well.
Castle Tower?
There's
it
2.
is. So we're probably going to go get that hammer very soon. That might be the next thing we do after this, actually.
Yeah.
Small key to
Desert Palace.
That's a very nice one to find.
Yeah.
The shovel.
Okay. Desert Palace is an interesting one. It is possible to beat the dungeon without the small key, but in doing so, you would abandon 2 items that are on the right side of Desert Palace. Alternatively, it is possible to get the 2 items that are on the right side of Desert Palace, but in the process, you would abandon the ability to beat the boss unless you find that Desert Palace small key. Sometimes that Desert Palace small key can be very hard to find, and other times the 2 items that are on the right side can be very valuable, so determining when to do Desert can be an interesting decision in Keysanity mode. We also found the Fire Rod there. The Fire Rod is necessary for Skull Woods and a couple other things. But right now, we're gonna go do Aghanim's Tower and get that hammer.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we dove into Palace of Darkness. We got 12 of the 14 checks. The other 2 will not only require the hammer that ninjembro is about to pick up, but also require the Palace of Darkness big key, which we don't currently have. So, we are going to double dip pod, but it might not be for a little while.
Yeah, and slightly unfortunately for Charity, pod is one of those dungeons where, like, if a seed is particularly nasty, you could end up like triple or even quadruple dipping. But we now know that we are. Oh, there's the Thieves' Town
nice.
big key. We are only double dipping pod because when we find the big key, we now have the ability to finish the rest of that dungeon.
So I will say it is relatively unusual in a all dungeon seed to be clearing Castle Tower this early in the progression. Oftentimes, those
the
2
last dungeon.
Castle Tower keys can be very elusive and make it the last dungeon that you clear. So a bit of a rarity because something extremely valuable is on that lumberjack ledge. And I should also say, in regards to Keysanity, the items that are normally found in chests are the ones that are randomized. That does not include static items such as enemies that drop small keys or the Hyrule Castle guard that drops the big key. Also, nice blue boomerang strat. The blue boomerang is exceptionally useful just for that pickup, basically.
Thank you to that red guard. He never cooperates for me. Like, I think it's 50-50 for him to go left, right versus up, down, and he always goes left, right for me. Oh, there's another thing that I forgot to mention. So Aga 1 has a weird attack pattern, and he has these things that he can use. He has 2 different attacks that he uses. He has the orange balls that you reflect him, and he has blue balls that he shoots that. There's a weird pattern, but on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th hit of every phase of his attack sequence, there's a 50-50 chance of a blue ball. I will be donating an additional, it's small, but an additional $1 per blue ball. So hope for the maximum of 15, although it's insanely unlikely. It's like a 0.005% chance or something like that.
You will have to hit Aghanim 6 times, and Jimber already hit him 2 times in order to beat this boss. The average number is around 3. So far, we're getting a little bit lucky. Perhaps too lucky? Yeah,
right,
definitely too lucky. 1 blue ball. So typically, the average number of blue balls that you'll see is about 3.
Yeah. It's essentially, think of getting 15 blue balls as having to flip a coin 15 times in a row and getting all heads. Not very likely to happen. There's 2. Aga does hate charity. Oh,
there's 3. All right, that's the average. Ooh.
There's 4.
All right, maybe Aga likes charity a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, let's see if you can like charity a little bit more. How about you in the audience? Do you like charity? That is more of a commitment to charity that Aghanim is showing. All right, Aghanim,
all right.
Good job.
Yeah, we actually like Aga today. All right, an additional $5. Somebody needs to be keeping track of how much money I owe at the end of this.
All right, so beating Aghanim does create a flag. It does set a flag in the light world, so the enemies that we see in the overworld are going to generally be a bit more difficult or more inconvenient from here on out. But such is life. What Ninjembro is doing here is King's Tomb. This is one of the few entrances that you'd actually need the boots to open. You can bonk into that grave to open it, but you can also cancel the bonk if you move like Ninjembro did there.
Yeah, it's basically an easier version of spin speed to just open that for free. All right, so we're about to get a hammer, so that'll be nice. We're just gonna go way over here. These guards are the absolute worst after you've killed Aga.
Yeah, the real problem with beating Aghanim is that the enemies are in a more inconvenient place generally. Not necessarily that they're particularly challenging. But it is hammer time!
Also,
Alright.
by killing Aghanim, you also get a new warp, or not warp per se, but portal between the light and dark world, right? By
Yeah.
the Hyrule Castle arch.
Yep, that is true, and that warp can sometimes be very useful if we were to want to go back to Palace of Darkness again and don't have, like, the hammer at this point. If we had the mirror as well, then if we were to save and quit in the Dark World, it would start us out on top of the pyramid, which may or may not be what you'd prefer, depending on what the seed would
Oh, and
want.
we have the red cane, so we actually get to showcase a pretty neat glitch in this game, which I was unable to practice before this run. So I normally play on emulator, so playing on an actual Super Nintendo is a little different for me. But I found, at least in practice, that the glitches I did try were not that much harder to do on actual hardware. So I'm not too worried about being able to pull off this glitch. Hey, what's this? Ganon's Tower.
Second small key to Ganon's Tower. So the glitch that Ninjembro is about to perform is called Icebreaker. It requires the cane to be completed, and it is a way to get through the dungeon of Ice Palace faster, and also beelines you getting to more of the items in Ice Palace. It is a doorway extension glitch. You use the red cane to create a block that tricks the game into thinking that the doorway is larger than it actually is. This allows Ninjembro to walk through a column in this room in order to get to that chest quickly. So the way that you do it requires a little bit of precise movement, and that was an extremely fast icebreaker. Well done.
Always hit the switch, Maximum Varnage. Always hit the switch. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the utility of some small keys. The Palace of Darkness ones are necessary for all the items. The Ice Palace small keys are mostly cosmetic because being able to do Icebreaker circumvents the need to collect a lot of them. However, if we were to have at least one Ice Palace small key plus the big key, it would make the routing a little bit more convenient. Ninjembro wouldn't have had to go into the room with the crystal switch just to hit it, because the crystals would already be in the correct orientation. There's that big key to Eastern Palace. Since we didn't have any small keys before Ice Palace, then it's not a super big deal. There are 2 small keys to Ice Palace in total, so logic would say that you would generally need both of them to beat the boss, or perhaps only one of them if the red cane is available.
Yeah. The biggest thing that not having one small key really did for us here is this next chest that we're doing. We would have been able to get to it in a slightly more efficient manner, but without at least a single small key, we have to kind of take this roundabout way to get to it. But it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, Ice Palace tends to be a pretty fast dungeon. This one chest is the only exception.
Which is funny because before the discovery of Icebreaker, Ice Palace was like the one dungeon that like runners tended to like try to hold off as long as they possibly could to see if they could just do it in what we call go mode, which is just, you just need to finish the game. You have everything you need. But now that Icebreaker's a thing, runners tend to come to it when they're able to clear it.
Yeah. In the vanilla game, Ice Palace can definitely be a bane for some runners. It's a confusing dungeon to navigate, and a lot of the enemies deal a high amount of damage. Such as this boss Cold Stare right here. This is going to be a very quick fight, despite Ninjembro only having the Master Sword. Very nicely done. So, the trick behind that fight, at the very beginning you have to shoot 8 fire rod shots, which would normally be a full magic meter to thaw the boss out. Doing so will make him vulnerable. Ninjembro then does a spin attack in order to try to get all 3 of the little puffballs into a corner and proceed to wail on him once he gets into that corner. So, if you have the tempered or butter sword, then it doesn't tend to go much longer than the act of getting him into the corner because those swords deal so much damage, but with the Master Sword and some nicely placed fire rod shots, Ninjembro was able to beat that very quickly.
And yeah, that was our first crystal.
That's true.
I don't know if it's a 5-6 crystal, but it was a crystal.
Yeah, if we ever see the menu, then we can briefly check if it'll be a 5-6 crystal. Not that there's much of a reason to see the menu. So
I'm not too worried about it until we have like 4 crystals.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we're at a point in the seed. Like, it was a slow start to a seed, but we're about to just rush a good number of dungeons and beat the bosses.
Yeah, having that hammer now is super helpful to beat the dungeons. Also, this is one of the most useful things that you can do with the blue cane, being able to use the cane to get around the cannonballs in that room. So I should talk a little bit about Quick Swap. This was a convenience feature that was added for the randomizer community. Ninjembro is able to switch buttons by pressing the active item by pressing the L and R buttons. So this not only speeds the game up and makes it more convenient, but it also enables a lot of useful strats, such as switching to that blue cane in Cannonball Room to make that a bit faster. That would not be faster if it were not for Quick Swap, so it's neat to see that in conjunction with Randomizer, enabling a lot of strategies that you wouldn't necessarily see as much in the vanilla game.
I should learn how to like actually do that room the fast way. Like where you go over to the right of the Igor and shoot him towards the left. But
oh yeah.
imagine me learning strats in the year 2023. I believe it was So Last Summer earlier that said, wow, like about the bonus run that was met. Imagine Ninjembro learning a glitch. I'm actually slightly notorious in the community for being somebody who just takes forever to learn glitches. I was very late to adopting Icebreaker into my gameplay. A lot of other glitches just because, to be quite honest, I'm lazy. Oh, I think we're still
I think you're good.
Yeah.
All right, that was a nice quick kill on the Armos Knights there for a crystal. Yeah, so the trick to that fight is Ninjembro positioned himself at the beginning of the fight in a very particular way. He shot exactly 5 arrows to the right. The reason why you only want to shoot 5 is because you want that final Armos to die at about the same time that the second to last Armos does. This will prevent an additional phase where the last Armos turns red and then chases you directly.
And also, when he turns red, any damage that you've already done to it is reset, so it would require another 3 arrows.
Yeah, so they call that strategy the Armos Quick Kill, and it is indeed a pretty quick one.
So we are potentially, probably a little unlikely, but potentially setting ourselves up for a triple dip of Skull Woods here. We don't have the Skull Woods big key yet, but we were able to finish all of Skull Woods with the exception of the big chest. So we're going to do it because we're trying to beat this game as fast as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually technically the second double dip that we've actually done so far, the first one being Eastern Palace. Yep. So that is a $10 donation for charity, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, Skullwoods is another one where the big key, which would normally contain the fire rod, you would need to get the big chest in the vanilla game, but in a randomizer, you only need to get the big chest if the big chest has something important.
So Adirondack Rick, who's in chat, awesome community member. For anybody who watches a lot of Link to the Past Randomizer races, he does a lot of really good commentary for races. Is actually pointing out, oops, okay, avert your eyes for a second there. This dungeon is actually not logically beatable until you have all 3 of the small keys for it, and we have one of them. Because again, the logic assumes that you are going to spend your small keys in the most inefficient way possible. And there were just doors, get out of here, dude, that we could have just opened for no reason. And that's another boss down.
Ooh,
And
it's a pendant
a
this time.
pendant. You
Yeah.
were allowed to clap for a boss kill. I heard like one person start to clap, and, and I'm like, yo, like that's like the one thing you're allowed to clap for, I think, right?
So that's our first pendant, right?
That is our first pendant.
So we're 2 away from Ped.
Yep.
We are 2 away from pedestal.
Also, this right here doesn't count as a double dip. You
Yeah.
would normally get this chest after beating the boss.
Basically, we're considering it a double dip if we like leave the area of the dungeon.
And
Because
we
this
are.
is oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
Okay.
We are $40 away from all bosses for Symphony of the Night. So if
Get
you
outta
want
here, dude.
more
Sorry.
Castlevania action, which is a lot of bosses compared to what you would just normally get, you want that $40 in there.
I think we just got what, a Turtle Rock Small?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that is our second Turtle Rock Small.
So Turtle Rock is an interesting dungeon because beating it requires, again, logically, all 4 small keys, but you can beat it with 3.
Yeah. If you were to beat it with 3, you would commit to isolating a chest in Turtle Rock, which probably isn't important unless it very much is. So it's preferable if we have 4, but we can do it with 3 if we want to.
Should I do, okay, so obviously everybody's probably going to like clap and be like, heck yeah, like do it. Should I do like an additional like 50 cents to charity per bonk? I'm not going to bonk on purpose, just so y'all know. But, all right, so it's $1 per blue ball, which we said was 5.
5.
$5 per extra dip of a dungeon, and we have now just committed to an additional 50 cents per bonk.
Yeah. What do you think your average number of bonks in all dungeons
I don't know.
Keysanity Seed would be?
I actually don't really look at my bonk count at the end of seeds. So,
I don't pay super close attention to it either.
so if So Last Summer is still in the chat, like she's hearing me just give away all my money and probably not super thrilled about it, but it is also for charity. So she's probably like okay with it. Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Yeah, this room can,
Gamachu's eyes are on fire right now, sorry.
that room can be a bit brutal. We got boots pretty early.
We did get boots pretty early, yeah. When you like bonk rocks, does that increment the bonk counter? I actually don't know.
I believe it does. I believe the bonk rocks plus the torches do increment the bonk counter.
What do we get?
Big key to Palace of Darkness. So interestingly with Thieves Town, that big key to Palace of Darkness is also not in logic currently.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
we don't have the Thieves Town small key. We have the big key, but not the small key. And because the game assumes that you can spend your keys in as inefficiently a manner as possible, the game would think that you could possibly, like, skip opening up the attic and go to the back and get a different chest instead, without beating the dungeon. So, we're going to commit to isolating a chest in here instead, but that pod pickup was a pretty big find.
All right, so Gamachu, before I started this run, mentioned to me on Discord because And I'm joking when I say this, but you all need to know that Gamachu is one of the most toxic members of the A Link to the Past randomizer community. Not true. Awesome guy.
Gamma is very nice.
Awesome guy. But said, don't choke on blind and mess up the script and die. I think with the amount of health we have, we're good to go. But
We also have the blue cane, which is
Yeah.
a super helpful item to beat blind if you're not accustomed to this fight. So we say that this fight is scripted. If you hit blind as quickly as possible, then his movement patterns and the fireball patterns will always be the exact same. So you can memorize it and get it down. That was a very nice blind kill following the pattern. For the big key to Skull Woods.
all right, count it because we're going back
You're
to
gonna
Skull
go back?
Woods for that,
All right.
for that big chest.
I appreciate the commitment. If you do happen to get off the blind script, it's not necessarily the end of the world, but it can make the fight a lot tougher. If you have the blue cane, then the projectiles that form around the blue cane will deal damage to blind. So for that reason, the blue cane tends to be one of the best items to beat blind with if you're used to the vanilla game or if you're playing the game casually. Also, this trick here is called hammer dashing, and it is one of the coolest tricks in A Link to the Past randomizer. It's also super simple to pull off. The strategy is just you hold down the boost button and you hold down the item button at the same time. In the case of the hammer, it will let you pound down those pegs there. You can also dash with other items, such as the Cane of Samaria, to unlock different effects instead.
So we're actually kind of isolating the purple chest here because we were going back into... I guess we could have grabbed it and left it outside the dungeon. I am clearly not
Nope, we're
very
committing
smart.
to isolate that purple chest.
Yep,
The
purple
commitment
chest
made.
is isolated, so it probably has like the Turtle Rock big key.
We have $20 from Anonymous and simply says clap bonk.
Clap bonk.
And also, just for clarification, for those not familiar, if I'm correct, you can't just take your usual Link to the Past cartridge and do a hammer dash on it. You need the
You need the
Visuals.
Japanese 1.0, so it has to be like an early release cartridge. Because they did patch it in future releases and also in the
English version.
The English release. All right, so we're going to go do Pod.
Yep.
I didn't catch if Thieves Town was a crystal or a pendant.
Oh, I didn't either, actually. I believe
All
it
right.
was a crystal, because I
All
didn't
right, so we
notice
have
it was
3
a pendant.
crystals and a pendant right now.
All right, it also looked like none of the crystals that we had were the
None
5/6 ones.
Yeah, no 5/6. All right, so we're going to go back into Pod here. And I'm, looking over at the tracker here just to kind of see. When you play this game a lot, you kind of you learn to start like pre-planning what you want to do next, because one thing you never want when you're playing this is just idle time. You always want to be moving towards something. And so I'm kind of looking over. I'm like, what can we do? Ice Palace is full cleared too, right?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Oh, we have like all of the Zora stuff. Yeah, that's looking pretty juicy actually.
Yeah. Another approach that a lot of runners have when routing is remember your ABCDs. That is always be clearing dungeons. So in this case, we have the hammer, we have the big key to Palace of Darkness. It's probably not going to get faster to beat it at later than it is right now, so might as well beat it right now.
And for those of you like just kind of interested, if you don't play the randomizer and you're interested in getting into it, there's a lot of good resources out there. So if there's anybody here in the audience or in the chat that has not played this but is interested in getting into it, I want to make two plugs during the course of this run. I'm about to make one of those plugs right now. There is a podcast in the Link to the Past randomizer community called the Go Mode Podcast. It is hosted by 3 members of the community, Timp, Dante, and Herfy Durfy. It's been going for quite some time. They have well over 100 episodes released. They were gracious enough to plug this run on their 2 most recent episodes just to get people in the community like excited. But annually they host what is called the Mentor Tournament around the summer, which is a tournament for newer runners to come in, get paired with more veteran members of the community, in which they are mentored through their races for the first phase of the tournament. And then they enter into a bracket stage where they are then cut loose. Thank you. They are cut loose from their mentors to see how they do on their own. So it's a very, very good way to get kind of introduced into the community if you've kind of like wanted to play Link to the Past Randomizer but have been kind of like shy about doing so, or like you just don't really are sure like, could I do it? I've mentored a good number of runners throughout the last 3 years, I think, of the Mentor Tournament. It's just a really fun time, and it's really fun to see like newer members to the community kind of, and get better at the game. And some don't stick around with it after the Mentor Tournament, and that's understandable, but some do. All right, let's do this.
All right, so the trick that Ninjembro is about to do is called the Hammer Yump, so named because that chest there normally contains the hammer. It involves two precise bomb jumps. They're precise in one of the coordinates only, but the thing that makes it particularly tricky is that you have to get the positioning for placing the bomb and the positioning for Link's shadow taken care of before this floor collapses.
This is good
I believe
now.
that looks right.
There we go.
Yeah. Small key to Ice Palace.
Neat.
Cool.
So useful.
Yeah. So that trick right there is a bit more challenging for newcomers. It is one of the glitches that is allowed in Randomizer, but is not necessarily expected by the logic of the game. I should say is not expected by the logic of the game. However, if you can do it in a Keysanity mode in particular, it's particularly useful because it can allow you to skip one of the keys. It was not really essential for Ninjembro to do the Hammer Yump there because Ninjembro had all the keys and had actually already unlocked that one door. There's the big key to Misery Mire. That is one that is super important. So, yeah, doing the Hammer Yump was not essential there, but even if you already have all the keys, it is just faster than not hammer yumping because it prevents you from needing to take a roundabout way around.
Okay, quickly here we have 2 more donations. $20 from Moss asking, did you see that ludicrous display last night? Obviously he did.
Ludicrous.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Moss. I did, in fact, see that ludicrous display last night.
And we have $20 from Tim Tan that says bonk clap. And as a quick reminder, we are looking at still trying to get money for the incentives here. Let me find them again. I didn't have them up. Sorry. We are close to all bosses for Castlevania, unless maybe we hit it already because I haven't refreshed. And looks like we still need money for difficulty 11 for Symphony of the Night as well. Meanwhile, in our poll for character name or should I say file name for Symphony of the Night, the luck mode name X-X exclamation point V quote marks Q is winning with a very sizable lead over King Donut, Saint Von Jester, and a pile of secrets.
What a hard name to say.
Let's see what we get here. Useless.
Unlucky. So that fairy will give you a random content to fill the bottle with. And the most helpful item is usually a blue potion. You could also find a green potion, red potion, or a fairy, but in this case, it was a bee. You could also find nothing. You can turn in the bottle and then just get an empty bottle back.
All right, I know what we're doing next, and we should have done it a while ago, but I wasn't thinking. But I think being a little more thorough here is probably not bad. Looking over at our tracker, the next play is pretty clear to me. Yeah, all right. Let's see what this is the big key to, because we saw a big key over here. And that's where we're heading. That's where I was going to go.
All right.
And we got the big key.
we got the $100 for all bosses in Symphony of the Night, so we're gonna get some Galamoth.
That's all. That is really cool.
Yeah, thinking is not required for this game. It is helpful, but it's not required. Speaking of thinking not required for this game, just a little anecdote while we're wasting time climbing the tower, up the Tower of Hera here. There is a competitive, like, 1v1 ELO-based ladder for the Link to the Past randomizer, so shout out to community member Big Dunka, who admins that along with Herfy Durfy, who I had mentioned earlier. But I one time had a race on that, which was absolutely hilarious, with a community member named DataPlet, where just the way the seed played out, we both routed it absolutely terribly. But because we both routed it absolutely terribly, it was a very close race, to the point where both of us got all 3 pendants before doing like almost anything else, and blind pulled the pedestal to find absolutely nothing.
Unlucky.
Like both of us did that, and we're like, well, we're losing this race, and you know, not to toot my own horn, I did win that race, but I won it by like 45 seconds. It was very fun. We both laughed about it after the fact. Also, we have a nice little coffee break here.
This is Coffee Break Room in Tower of Hera. So Tower of Hera has 6 items. We are actually not going to be double dipping this dungeon because we have the ability to get everything right now. There is a fun glitch that you can do if you have the hook shot already, which we do. That is called Hera Pot. You use the hook shot to clip into a pot at the bottom of the dungeon that takes you to a room where there are 2 fairies and will warp you to the top of the dungeon, and that lets you get through the dungeon very quickly. So we'll see ninjembro do that. There are several different potential setups for Herapot, and that is a Quake Medallion, which we actually need for Turtle Rock.
Okay, perfect. And the nice thing about Herapot is even if you have the big key, it's still faster to do it. But if you don't have the big key, it allows you to clear this dungeon out of logic, because it allows you to skip a door that would normally require the big key.
And first try Herapod, very nice.
So for those of you that may play this game and don't know glitches, like a lot of the glitches that I've been showing off during this run may look very daunting, and I might make them look easy. I will be completely honest, like, they're really not that hard to learn.
And that setup in particular for Herapot was actually found pretty recently, too. So people are still discovering new things about this game, and that makes it very cool. There are several different setups. That one is probably the easiest. You set yourself up on a particular pixel. You can use the crystal switches to line your X coordinate up, line your Y coordinate up, and then your X coordinate, you can look at the tiles in order to figure out a position to be. That will let you set a bomb, and then you back into the bomb in order to get yourself into the position where you can clip into the pot there. Very nice Moldorm kill for a crystal. That is our 5th crystal, I believe.
What's that say over there? 2 Turtle Rock Smalls?
2 Turtle Rock Smalls only.
Looking at the rest of the tracker, I think we go to Turtle Rock here. I don't love it, but we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, community member Alkaheish pointing it out in chat, the setup that I just did is actually pretty forgiving. And there's also multiple different pixels that you can set yourself up on to do that. It's actually one of the few recent things discovered that I actually learned pretty quickly after it being discovered. Which, as joked about earlier, is very rare for me.
All right, so we're using the Quake Medallion to open up Turtle
Also,
Rock here.
double dip, most likely here, so...
Almost certainly, yeah.
We are doing things for charity.
medallions in the randomizer, they have additional effects on the enemies, but they are required to enter particular dungeons.
this is
Normally,
independent.
you would use the Quake medallion to enter Turtle Rock, the Ether medallion to enter Misery Mire, and the Bombos medallion can be used to enter Ice Palace, but isn't always necessary because you can use the Fire Rod to do that. The randomizer, however, randomizes which medallion is used to open which dungeon. So we've seen that Mire, in this case, requires the Bombos medallion, but Turtle Rock is vanilla, requiring Quake. So coming to this room here, Ninjembro is going to light 4 torches. The game would expect you to take a winding path around this room to light them, but because we have the hook shot, we can use the hook shot to get onto a torch, intentionally fall down, and that'll take us right to where the door is. Super fun trick to pull off. Here's another one of the few situations where the blue cane is useful to get around those rollers there for 20
These
arrows.
items. I mean, I needed arrows, so, like, great. But also, yikes. We're still only on Master Sword. A little surprising.
Yeah. The minimum equipment that you need to beat Ganon in particular is the Master Sword. So if you have the Master Sword, then you're in for a long Ganon fight, but it is still technically doable. It's preferable if we have another sword upgrade because that reduces the amount of time required for the first 3 phases, and it is preferable if we have the silver arrows because that drastically reduces the amount of time that we need to beat the last phase. So Ninjembro decided to save and quit here. Instead of opening that one isolated lava chest that is locked behind 4 Turtle Rock small keys logically, I would probably do the same thing. This is one of the decisions that you have to make in Rando on the fly that make it such a challenging and interesting game to play.
That's why I, like, sat there for a second and was like, and, like, made Link, like, kind of erratically move for a little bit. We have enough other things we can do. That's useless right there.
All right, it turns out there were actually 30 arrows in Turtle Rock. The 10 of them were just delayed by finding the mushroom first.
That is true. We haven't checked this yet, and it's been available forever.
That is true. Sick Kid requires a bottle. Normally he would give you the bug net if you show him that you have something useful to put bugs in. A bit unfortunate that he had the mirror there.
Wow.
We got it pretty late. The mirror is an extremely helpful item. It lets you warp back from the dark world to the light world super quickly. This is necessary to enter the dungeon Swamp Palace.
Wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, that's where we're going.
It is also useful for a couple additional overworld checks, and one of them is actually in the neighborhood that we just left. There is a cave on Right Side Death Mountain that you can only get to by going halfway through Turtle Rock and then mirroring in the overworld in a particular spot. However, we're doing Swamp Palace now. We don't have the big key, so there's going to be one chest that we're not going to be able to get here, but we are still going to be able to get 9 out of 10 in the dungeon.
And that's a lot.
That's quite a lot. There is still a chance that we'll have to double dip it, though, so we'll see.
There is a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
Alright, so Swamp Palace, this is the one and only chest that you can get without the small key. And Tempered Sword is a nice pickup.
We will take it. We could have gotten that way early.
Yeah, technically.
Oh, no, we couldn't have because we didn't have the mirror.
Oh, yeah. Alright, and this is the last chest in Swamp Palace that you can get before finding the hammer. It happened to contain a compass to the dungeon. The compasses, as you can see, they unlock a little counter that can be sometimes nice to look at, showing how many items are in the dungeon and how many we've collected thus far. So all of the rest of these checks require the hammer as well.
We could have came here if I checked the kid earlier. Yes. That is true. Imagine checking Sick Kid, though.
I don't know why he had to look at himself that much. Oh, we're going to get a custom message about that, actually. That'll be fun in the credits. Yep, the other sword is on the tracker.
Well, there you go. So it's actually, I learned recently, slightly faster if you're going to full clear the dungeon to do these checks first. But the first time I did that after learning that, I forgot to do the south chest.
Did it burn you?
No, but
Excellent.
maybe? I don't remember.
Cool. So in order to get through these rooms, ninjembro is going to do a really interesting trick called Holy Diver, also known as Diver Down. So
Get out of here.
there is a small key under a pot in the chest that we... under a pot in the room that we just left. Ninjembro is using the Cane of Samaria to clip into this here to do this like weird state of half walking on water, half walking under the water, going to pick up that small key. He set up the bomb in that room such that he left it after the bomb had exploded, but before the effects of the bomb were made. That causes the bomb to finish the explosion when he re-enters the room, which sets the crystal switch in the other orientation, which is necessary to get the items that are get both items that are on the left side here. And in case you like Diver Down and missed it the first time, we're going to get to see Ninjembro do that again when he gets to the back of the dungeon. You can use the Cane of Samaria to do Diver Down, where it's typically the easier setup. You can also use bombs to do it if you don't have the red cane, but bombs are a little bit riskier because you can run out, and that risks... If you run out, then you do flood that small key, you have no way of getting it, and would have to leave the dungeon and come back.
So speaking of Ninjembro hates learning new things, I learned Bomb Diver Down about pretty close to 2 years after I learned Red Cane Diver Down. If I didn't have Red Cane, I just didn't do Diver Down. I was that stubborn about it.
Yeah, overall it's not an essential trick, but it does save somewhere around 40 seconds, I think. Yeah, super nice there. It lets you beeline getting to these two chests, finding that required
looks like
Bombos
we're
medallion.
going to Misery Mire after this. The seed is just setting up the rest of the route very cleanly. I didn't go to the south chest.
That's true. All right.
I just noticed because I was like 7 out of 10.
See, this is what the compasses are useful for.
So, great. We're just going to assume that there's nothing there.
All right, I like it. So the odds of Ninjembro needing to double dip Swamp Palace just went up, but this is Argus. In order to beat Argus, you just have to hookshot these little puffballs away from him. You can defeat him with the sword. You can also use the hammer or another item if you're
my gosh.
less efficient.
Not the best Argus fight.
So second phase, Argus chases after you. You can use the fire rod and spin attack to deal with him pretty quickly there. That is the green pendant. So the green pendant is the one pendant that is extra special because it lets us get an item from Sahasrara, which is not marked for some reason. Sahasrara will give you an item that would normally...
You didn't track the pendant yet.
Oh, right. That'll do it.
Oh, that one, we have a 5-6. I don't know what dungeon it came from, but we have it.
Okay. I'm going to assume it was Hera.
Sure.
Yeah. So Sahasrara would normally give you the boots if you show him the green pendant. In this case, he'll give you a random item if you show him the green pendant instead. And that is also 2 of the 3 pendants that we need. If we find a third one, then we can pull the Master Sword pedestal, which won't contain the Master Sword because we already have better than the Master Sword. It could still have the last sword upgrade, but it could have another item that we need to beat the game, such as the Turtle Rock or Desert Palace Big Keys. Could be the Ice Rod, which is another item that tends to be very elusive in the Link to the Past randomizer because its uses are essential but limited. Could be another... Could also just be like 20 rupees, you never know.
Almost got that room.
Yeah, the quick kill in that room is a lot of fun if you can... It's really satisfying if you can pull it off, but it can be pretty tricky.
So we have like we have everything for this dungeon.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're missing a small key. Not a big deal. So we'll do this chest first. So there's a rail clip that you can do over here. In pure ninjembro fashion, I've yet to learn it. So we're not going to do it.
Yeah. I've learned it, but I'm not consistent enough at it. I'm not consistent enough at it for it to be faster than just going backwards.
Yeah. And I think I remember hearing, like, if you mess it up, like, I think even once, it's slower than just running around. It might be twice. What do we get? Thieves.
Ooh,
Oh.
all right. Having that small key to Thieves Town, it does mean that that Palace of Darkness big key and the Swamp Palace, or the Skull Woods big key that we found are in logic, but it also means that we can now go back into Thieves Town, go through pretty much the entire dungeon for one additional item that we had to skip earlier.
So chat asking, have we explained the C in the corner? We have not. So because I have the map to this dungeon, but never actually checked the map on the overworld, it still will put a C or a P in the corner, telling you whether it's a crystal or a pendant. However, it does not tell you if it is a red crystal, so a 5/6, or the green pendant. So you would still have to check like your inventory afterwards.
Yeah, so thank you to Jay
Oh.
Meisher. Silver Arrows is a nice item to find, especially before this upcoming boss. Thanks to Jay Meisher for pointing out that we saw a P in the corner when we were in Turtle Rock, so Turtle Rock is the third pendant.
Yep. All right.
Also, it's worth saying that in a Keysanity mode, in order to hide your ability to recognize if you're in a crystal or pendant dungeon based on the music that is playing, it is a 50-50 chance of playing the pendant dungeon music or the crystal dungeon music. Hey, there's the filet! The bug net. 50-50 chance of playing pendant or crystal dungeon music.
Oh, the
for
Desert Palace
Keysanity.
Big Key. How convenient.
Yeah, the seat is
Oh,
routing
okay.
really nicely now.
So there's a glitch in this dungeon that I think I set up, but I realized afterwards that I may not have set it up correctly, so we'll see. There's a fix to it, so it is called Spooky Action. There's a fix if you don't set it up properly or if you accidentally disengage it. I don't know the fix, so we'll see here shortly if we still have it or not. Which allows us to do this weird thing with the altitude of the fire rod shots, where you can make it hit things. Okay,
There it
we got
is.
it. So we just actually hit a switch that was off screen, and we're going to do it 2 more times. So we're going to do one here to hit a screen above us, so we don't have to wait for a bomb to explode. And there's one way up here, or there's a switch way up here we would normally have to hit, but we can hit it with that. And an annoying boss, but an easy one with silver arrows.
Yeah, Vitreous with Silver Arrows is basically Link's crossbow training. All the little eyes go down in 1 hit, and the last one will go down in 2, and it's done. If you have less favorable equipment, Vitreous can actually be a very challenging boss, but fortunately, worked out in our favor here.
Vitreous with not a lot of good equipment, and some people may disagree with me, but I believe is probably the hardest boss in the game, in terms of how difficult it can be based on your equipment. All right, we actually never checked Desert Ledge. Let's see. All right, I assume
Alright.
nothing, and it was nothing.
I do that all the time. I tend not to respect the scout.
I don't respect the scout. Why would you?
Yeah. All right, so this is Desert Palace. We have that small key. We have the big key, so this is going to be another full clear first dip. Also, the normal way that the game would expect you to go into Desert Palace is with the Book of Mudora, which we don't currently have. It is actually relatively common in Randomizer to access Desert Palace not by finding the book, but instead by finding that combination of flute, mirror, and Titan's Mist to get us in. And that is the big key to Ganon's Tower, which is absolutely a required item.
And we can get to Ganon's Tower after this dungeon.
Yep. This is the last crystal.
So we are looking for 3 items at this point, I believe, for Go Mode. We are looking for an Ice Rod. We are looking for another Turtle Rock Small Key. And we are looking for the Turtle Rock Big Key. I don't think I'm missing anything over there.
Yeah, not too much useful to find now.
Speaking of,
there's that small key.
One.
So we could still find another small key to Turtle Rock. The game's logic would expect you to find that last one, but because all we care about is beating the dungeon, then if we're able to find everything else, then we would like to skip Lava Chest if possible.
So looking at the tracker right now, this is very scary, but we have the ability to go to Ganon's Tower, which has a roughly like 100 million items that we can find there. It's actually 27, but it feels like 100 million. And playing the numbers is always a smart thing to do. Like, why would I go like to a bunch of one-off locations for like 10-ish items when I can go to Ganon's Tower for 27 when I need to do Ganon's Tower anyway? Me putting that math degree to work. All right, so another very easy boss, but I'm probably going to mess it up. Nope.
Hey, all right.
So there's a lot of runners that do like some other setup for that, and like, which involves like bonking off the top wall and then like aiming left and then right. I don't understand it.
I do that one. That's one of the few bosses that I use a music cue for.
Yeah, I just wing it every time, and sometimes it doesn't work. So, that being said, very unfortunately, with Link to the Past Randomizer, normally, when going to Ganon's Tower, there's a game that chat always likes to play where they get to guess the location in Ganon's Tower that the big key will be located. But because we're playing Keysanity, unfortunately, we already have the big key. So, sorry, y'all.
You can guess numbers of chests anyway. Maybe it'll have one of the other items that you need.
Maybe. So we still need a big key and an ice rod.
Mm-hmm.
So fun fact, there are 2 ways to get to Ganon's Tower. The way I'm going is actually in an ideal scenario with like perfect RNG and like perfect execution. This route is slightly slower, but I don't always execute perfectly, and I hate relying on good RNG. So I take the like, especially with quick swap, it's a lot closer of a delta. So I take the like 2-second hit to guarantee the amount of time it takes to get there. Because if you get really bad RNG with those stupid dead rocks, it could be 8 seconds slower.
Yeah, the enemies that are visible on the mountain are called dead rocks, and they can be a bane for speedrunning because if they are contacted, then they will freeze and become invulnerable, and that can happen in very unfortunate places that block your path. But here's Ganon's Tower. There are 22 chests plus the basement, and we found the ice rod in the very first one.
So we are 1 item from Go Mode. Unfortunately, it is one that can be
just about
almost anywhere that we haven't checked yet.
It would be extremely convenient if we do happen to find that Turtle Rock big key here, because then we can just pop over and beat that dungeon before this one.
Yeah.
Which would make it another double dip of Ganon's Tower.
That is true. Hey, there's the cape.
Hey.
Oh my god, I hate this room. Top tier gameplay right here.
So yeah, basement
Really,
of Ganon
dude?
Tower.
Really?
Unfortunate.
Are you kidding me? What was he? I have literally never seen him do that before.
Yeah, Basement of Ganon Tower has 22 checks, plus we already have the big key, so we can get a 23rd. There are 4 additional checks along the Ganon Tower climb.
Which, if we don't find the big key by before the climb, we will be doing the climb. And so I said earlier there were 2 podcasts in the Link to the Past Randomizer community. The other one is called the 216 podcast, which is hosted by community member Fear Agent. Also shouted out this run on that podcast, so shout outs to him. But I'm going to shout out here that we are going to skip what is called Tile Room because it's slow. But I'm shouting that out at this exact moment. Ooh. I'm shouting it out at this exact moment specifically because, and Fear Agent, I saw you in chat earlier. If you're still here, I'm sorry for like opening an old wound here. But recently he did like 2 back-to-back races of this mode where his go mode was in that like location and he skipped it both times and like hard last locationed it and spent like 2 hours and 20 minutes finishing the game. He was not very happy about it, but like as a spectator, it was quite frankly kind of hilarious. So again, sorry Fear Agent, but it was good content.
Hey, look, there's where all the rupee drops were.
Yeah.
Ganon's a dragon. He is just hoarding all the money.
Easy boss to refight here, especially with silver arrows. We'll check these 3 chests, and if they don't have it, we'll go upstairs to the big chest. There's that last Turtle Rock small key, which is actually very weirdly interesting.
So having that 4th Turtle Rock small key means that we don't have to commit to isolating the vanilla big key chest, which is in the middle of like a lava maze there. It also makes it generally a little bit more likely that the big key to Turtle Rock is in the dungeon, but
Not
not
super likely, 'cause
particularly
it could
likely.
only be there.
Yeah, there or Mimic Cave.
Also, interesting enough, there is a small key on Floating Island that we now no longer care about at all.
Yeah. Also, notice we just got that 3rd small key to Skull Woods there. So if we were strictly following logic, then only now would Skull Woods be beatable.
Take a little damage there.
The Hope is still alive. Oh no, the Hope is dead for Pedestal. Never mind.
Oh yeah, it is. Rip pedestal.
Yeah.
Another shield. The
There's
Book
the
of
book.
Medora.
Oh man, that just opens up more overworld locations.
I'm gonna check. Oh. So, for argument's sake, I believe this does count as a Ganon's Tower double dip now. Because I am going to use that book to check exactly one location and then go back into Ganon's Tower.
Yeah.
So, good job, Charity. And it's a map.
Oh hey, we can find where Ganon's Tower is. I wonder where it could be.
I think it's right here.
Oh wow. I'm not sure if I would have been able to find it without a map.
Looking over at the tracker is incredibly scary right now. What are we at time-wise? 140? Just trying to get in under that estimate because no particular reason. I made the estimate very conservative, but this mode can, on some rare occasions, take 2 hours, if not slightly over.
So All Dungeons Keysanity is one of the longest modes, both because of the All Dungeons requirement and because the Keysanity requirement typically means that you'll end up diving into dungeons, getting only some of the items, but having to return to the dungeons later to complete them. The A Link to the Past randomizer community has a very robust selection of modes to choose from. This is one of the more time-consuming ones. There's another one called Casual Boots, which you start off with the boots and a sword. They can be typically very fast. I think there was a seed that was even completable in under an hour, which is absolutely wild.
Shout outs again to my league teammate Maniacal, who, so it's not to diminish his own accomplishment, but he currently, I believe, has the known, if you want to call it world record, because in randomizer that's a very silly thing to think about, but as far as playing a seed that nobody has ever played before and just finishing it, I believe he finished it in like 53 minutes for a casual boot seed. And it was in a race against somebody else who only finished like 30 seconds behind him. It was a very close race. He was in go mode at about the 15-minute mark.
Yeah. So in case you're confused, go mode is what we call it when we've found all the items that we need to beat the game, and all we have to do is go beat the game.
Oh, wow. Okay, dudes.
There is also an entrance randomizer for A Link to the Past, where you can go into a building in Kakariko and find a cave that leads you to the Dark World, or find Swamp Palace, or Ganon's Tower, or a whole number of absolutely wild things. Entrance randomizer seeds are a lot of fun, completely reinvent how you think of the game. Can also be typically more time-consuming to complete.
Yeah, usually surprisingly, even over this mode right now, a reasonable estimate for an entrance, what we like to call cross keys, is probably about 2 hours, 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. You can get some that are a little bit trollier. But yeah.
Alright, this is Moldorm again.
Really? Oh, okay, there we go.
Alright, Moldorm goes down.
Let's see what we get in this second to last chest in GT, because we're leaving one behind.
Alright. So, the adventure will begin.
All right, looking over at the tracker. There's a lot to do. A nice triple there.
Mm-hmm. So, like Aghanim 1, it takes 6 hits to beat Aghanim. He can also fire blue balls after the first hit. Typically, you want to be able to combine them all together, and getting a 3-cycle Agatu is very, very solid.
Yeah, usually a 2-cycle is the best you can do. Mm-hmm. We like a 3-cycle. Sometimes you end up with a 4-cycle. Anything beyond that, and you're kind of like, man, what did I do?
Yeah. But where Aghanim warps is random, and where each of the Aghanim clones warp is also random. And I say random, but if you are racing this seed against someone else, then the patterns for Aghanim, for the other Aghanim fight that we saw, for Ganon warping, and for certain mini-games such as Chest Game and Digging Game that we saw earlier, those are fixed so that they are consistent and per seed level. So if you're racing against someone else, then you know that you will never lose time because the other person has the same RNG for those things that you do.
So this is one of those weird points in a seed like this where if you were able to see the tracker in terms of like locations that are available to me right now that have items still, you're looking at a bunch of really bad options. So you just kind of like pick options, and especially if you're in a race scenario at this point, you're like, well, I hope that I pick the right one if my opponent made mostly the same decisions as me, and we're at this point where we're looking for this last big key. Like, I hope I make the right decision and they make the wrong one.
Yep, there are a lot of equally viable locations to check at this point, and hopefully we'll get it right. Just hearts. 18 now.
Yeah, 18. The nice thing is, once we find that big key, it's a pretty quick amount of time from finding that big key to finishing the seed. That last big key is the bottleneck that we have right now. Oh gosh, that was awful. All right, so we'll see what this guy has for us.
Hey!
Oh,
All
that's
right! We like that. That's pretty good for you hitting underestimate.
Yeah. Somebody even joked earlier that that big key was going to be there. I saw two things in chat. One was that it was going to be at Saha, and one that it was going to be at Tile Room. So this is a good point in the seed for tallying up how much I owe at the end of this. So, Eastern Palace, we double dipped.
Yep.
Desert Palace was single. Tower of Hera was single. Pod was double. Swamp was single. Skull Woods was
Triple. Because we came back in for the big chest.
It was triple, okay. Yeah, that's true. Thieves Town was double.
Yep.
Ice, Mire were both single, and Turtle Rock is a double.
Yep, so that is 6 total. So that is $30 donated to charity, courtesy of Ninjembro.
Plus the $5 for the blue balls.
Yep, and there were 5 blue balls.
And the
So
base,
55.
the base $25 that I said I would donate. So that's what, 25, 35, that is $60?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll have to remember to actually do that after this run. Oh, and the bunk count. Yeah, we
so
forgot
50,
about the bunk
50
count.
cents per bunk.
Get out of here, chain chomps. Math degree for the win.
All
This
right.
one.
Yeah.
I remembered.
Yep, I was wondering. So, normally, if you're going through Turtle Rock, you would have to take the alternate pipe, which would get you to a pokey enemy. You would defeat the pokey to have him drop a small key, take the small key to open the door to the right to check lava chest, which would normally have the big key, and then go all the way back around to that pipe maze and do the whole cycle all over again. But since Ninjembro already has all the small keys, he doesn't even need to get the key from the pokey, and he can just go through the rest of the dungeon. You notice Ninjembro is skipping chests now. That is the difference between go mode and not. We already have all the items that we need to finish the game. There isn't really anything that would be beneficial for us with Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows already, so we are just cruising on our way to beat Trinex and then Ganon.
And there's one other nice benefit that we didn't really talk about. Since we already did Aga 1, and we have the mirror, when we finish this dungeon, we can just save and quit, and it'll bring us right to the top of the pyramid where the Ganon fight is.
All right, so coming into this Trinex fight, pretty straightforward with a tempered sword. You use the opposite rod on each head to stun it, then deal damage with the sword. The rods actually also deal a little bit of damage. Those are the two heads down. The big head retreats into the shell. So the big head, when he comes out, there's going to be a vulnerable part on the body. However, if you attack him before he turns the corner there, it's actually his head that is vulnerable. So Ninjembro beat him very fast. That is Trinex done. And that is the last boss that we need to beat. Small key to Ganon's Tower, nice.
Cool logic, right?
Climbing Ganon's Tower is now in logic now. That's the last dungeon that we need to beat, and just one more boss fight remains. So I'll talk about the Ganon boss fight now. It happens in 4 phases. In the first phase, he is going to fire his trident and teleport around. You need to hit him 12 times with the tempered sword in order to move him to the next phase. It is preferable if you can beat him in 1 cycle here, so Ninjembro is setting himself up. This looks pretty good. And yep, that is the right 1 cycle, so now we're in phase 2. He's going to fire these fire bats around. This is typically the most dangerous phase. Once again, we need to hit him 12 times. Yeah. That was 12, so we're on phase 3. He's going to collapse the floor. After he becomes vulnerable, then you hit him. If you don't hit him super quickly, then he'll fire a ring of fire bats around, which you'd have to avoid. At this point, the worst thing that you can do is fall down the pits that are in the corners now, because if you do, you would exit the fight and have to re-enter and start from the very beginning. So this is phase 4. This is what the silver arrows are for. 4 silver arrow shots while he is stunned will clear it. You have to light the torches to stun him, and this almost a super 2-cycle fight there, but that is Ganon done already as I was talking about it. So GG's, congrats to Ninjembro for a very awesome below estimate run.
And time is when we cross the bridge and the screen fades to black. Once it fades to black, that's time. And that is
there we
time.
Go.
Well, that just happened. Yeah, and that's all Dungeons Keysanity.
That is A Link to the Past, all Dungeons Keysanity. So there are a couple of fun things in the credits. The credits will change. Some of the alterations are random, determined at the start of the game. These are always Lord of the Ring references, for example. Other messages will depend on what items are in what particular places. So there's Sahasrara is the name of the NPC, but it's a different thing each time. I'm looking forward to seeing the Sick Kid message because Sick Kid had the mirror.
Yeah. Our uncle was cheap.
Little love for sale.
Fungus for arrows.
Yep, we didn't even get those arrows, but we gave him the fungus anyway.
Lumber clones.
Key Boy picks locks again. Because he had the big key that was buried. Dwarven swordsmiths. Did they actually give a sword?
They did not. The narcissistic kid.
That's what it is because he had the mirror. He was looking at himself all day. Gary the Oldman.
Oh, we'll find out what was on pedestal.
We are going to find out what is on pedestal.
And it is
the explosions.
Just some bombs,
yeah.
I think. Yeah, just some bombs. All right, so soon we'll find out how many bonks. So it's $60 plus 50 cents times the number of bonks that show up at the end of the credits.
Yeah, so as we're wrapping this up, thanks so much to MAGFest for putting this on, and MAGFAST for organizing this event. Ninjembro, thanks so much for having me. This was super fun.
and thanks again, MAGFAST, for accepting this run. It was a lot of fun, and in future years, I would love to come back and do different modes.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think this is a really good time, and thanks for everybody for hanging out.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for everyone for coming to this. Thanks a lot to the Link to the Past randomizer community in general.
Yes.
Super friendly, welcoming group of individuals. If you enjoyed this run and are interested in going to the game, I highly recommend the Discord.
Here we go.
Super helpful resources to
19
get started.
bonks.
19 bonks.
That's an extra 9. So we are $69.50. So nice.
That is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also thank you to Ninjembro for including the Link to the Brass MSU. If you've enjoyed the music that you hear, it's a treat to get to share it with you. The Game Brass is performing at 2 p.m. tomorrow. If you're interested in checking that out, it's been really cool to be able to be in person at an event like this in such a role. I hope I didn't do too badly on the tracking. I don't think I did, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
But there was an incentive
awesome.
met, right?
Yes, there was.
And did we get confirmation? Is it going to be run by the individual, or are they going to coach me through it?
I have no idea.
Oh, I just heard in my ear that we are doing the coach.
Doing the coach.
And by
Okay.
the way, we are sitting at $6,922.27.
Nice.
We are very close to $7,000.
Well past the original goal, which I think was 5,000, but we upped it to 10,000, which I think we can hit this weekend, right? We have to hit it this weekend. All right, but yeah, thanks.
And we've also
everybody,
hit
and,
the,
looks like we're switching over here in the near future. So
And we've hit the Castlevania difficulty 11 incentive as well. And we have one donation here, $100 from Rubicon. Woot, might as well meet this difficulty target. All right, we're getting ready for the any percent coaching run. We're gonna learn how to play this, how to do this. So stay tuned. After this, I think we'll go to it. We'll be done here physically, and we'll send all of you off online to go watch Saint Von Jester afterwards, do Symphony of the Night randomizer, which you don't want to miss.